Aloha and welcome to another episode of Hawaii Farmer Series. I am your co-host, Justine Espiritu. You might see that I'm missing my sidekick, Matthew Johnson. He is in Vermont, but he should be tweeting in all his thoughts and feelings. So as a reminder, this series is about Hawaii's farmers and other local food supporters. We're interested in kind of highlighting the folks that grow food as well as local businesses that have started up to remind folks what the local food community is about, and also try to get some insider scoop on what they see of the future of local food in Hawaii. So we have a special episode today. We have my friends with OnoPops. We have Joshua Lanthier-Welch, who is the chef, owner, and founder and president, et cetera, of OnoPops. And we also have Katherine Breedlove, who is the director of distribution. So thank you guys so much for coming on.
And the missing part of the brain trust that runs the company, of course, is my brother, Joe Welch, who is really more president and CFO. He's the one who does all the hard accounting and bean crunching and stuff. So
Today he's busy being a firefighter.
Yes, and he's a full-time firefighter. Which, when your business partner has an excuse for not doing something, and it happens to be I was out saving lives, you know, it's an excellent excuse. It really is an excellent. excuse.
So that's just one example of one of the things that I love about OnoPops. You know, kind of started off as a family business, and you guys have a really interesting history and kind of. You're an interesting piece of the local food system here for a variety of reasons. So I'm interested in kind of getting that backstory. And then, you know, you grew up here, you've kind of seen a lot of changes, and you have a lot of thoughts and feelings about local food in Hawaii.
Yeah, well, I mean, the story we always tell is my brother's idea. He had gone to a gourmet organic popsicle shop in the East Coast when he was out there for his wife's family reunion. And he called me that day. He and his daughters, who were then only 3 and 5, they're so much older than that now. They too grew up, had stood in line like 3 times and gotten multiple flavors. He called me that day. I was living and working as a chef in San Francisco and said, we've got to do this gourmet popsicle thing in Hawaii. Kat and I listened to his, it was a long, it was like a 9-minute rambling message, long rambling voicemail about, we got to do this gourmet popsicle thing in Honolulu. And we listened to it and giggled, and my response was, no freaking way. Am I moving back to Honolulu to open a popsicle shop with you? But this was 2009, so the restaurant I was working at was closed because of the recession, and my parents' tenant in their beautiful Ohana apartment passed away. So all of a sudden there was this opportunity for a place to live and a project to work on. I had no right of refusal. And, you know, I'm really, really happy I overcame that initial reluctance. You know, I was one of those kind of kids who graduated from Puno and ran away from Hawaii screaming for 20 years and never looked back.
You were in San Francisco and you said you were never coming back.
I lived in San Francisco, I lived in Austin, Texas, I lived in Manhattan, I lived in London, I worked in the video game industry, you know, I got an MFA in screenwriting, but slowly but surely food took over my brain. You know, I started working as a personal chef and caterer just because I had rich friends who'd been to my dinner parties and were like, I don't want to pay any caterer but you to cook for my wife's birthday or our wedding or whatever. And that's just how it started. And, you know, food ended up being a much more gratifying creative outlet for me than writing had ever been. So, and my brother knew that, and he knew he wanted someone like that to help him do this popsicle thing. And, you know, it's been a really gratifying experience to build a brand out of nothing, and one that has actual content, one that is about celebrating Hawaiian agriculture. And, you know, we'll talk about that more in a minute, but, you know, it has had a lot of ups and downs. But the key difference was, compared to living on the mainland and living in Hawaii, is that the locavore movement really meant something here. You know, in my past experiences, I had been at the Union Square greengrocer market in New York City, and there's some little lady with a map and a protractor drawing a circle in front of this exhausted Vermont truck farmer saying, where in Vermont is your farm again? She's drawing her 250-mile radius circle. I'm not sure I can buy your radishes. It's like, lady, they're organic radishes. They're local enough. Buy them. You know, that seemed silly. And then also, you're at the, you know, one of the most overpriced farmers market in the world at the Ferry Building in San Francisco, and you're staring at this gorgeous heirloom tomato that's $5 a tomato. And you know that right over the East Bay Hills in fortress agriculture for big ag in America in the Central Valley, they're growing tomatoes at 7 cents a pound to ship to Thailand. You know, and the disconnect between what does locavore mean when you're that close to the combine, right? And then when you move to Hawaii, all of a sudden, when I moved home to Hawaii and realized all the issues around food sustainability and food security that I had never tracked on in my childhood here in the 70s and 80s, yeah, it's like, you know, like James Carville would say, it's an island, stupid. You know, if you live on a rich pocket of volcanic soil and you let people 3,000 miles away grow 90% of your food, you're not just stupid, you're suicidal.
Yeah.
You know, on Oahu, we're 6 weeks from cannibalism if the Matson liners stopped coming. No joke. That's not a joke. I mean...
And it's not funny.
You know, the only one of the islands in the chain that has any capacity for self-sufficiency is the Big Island.
Mm-hmm. So when you say about the local movement mattered, where it seemed it was more kind of like a fad thing, when we're talking about, you know, this is the reality of what we're importing, the percentage, and comparing it to our capacity of the potential of what we could be. We could be more self-sufficient.
In 1860, the population of Oahu was 90,000, about 10% of what it is now, and they were 95% self-sufficient. And they didn't just grow what we grow now. They grew corn and potatoes and, you know, for the haoles, and they grew rice and soy. You know, the Chinese, in their industriousness, had converted the Hawaiian fish ponds into rice paddies. In 1905, Hawaii exported 13 million pounds of rice, exported, on top of satisfying their entire needs for within the state. You know, Honolulu was the point of larder for all of the ships in the North Pacific. You know, we didn't just grow food for ourselves, we actually produced a surplus. And fortunately, most of that ag land is still there because of the failure of corporate monoculture in sugar and pineapple. So it could be, if you took a map of agricultural land use from 1860 to 1895 and put it right down on top of what used to be Dole and Hawaiian sugar and C&H, you could, it would be a roadmap for self-sufficiency that you could start tomorrow. So history has so much to teach us in that regard.
So in that respect, we're kind of in a prime time right now to kind of
reframe and
restructure.
We're at a crux because, as sugar and pine started to die in the 70s and 80s, development has encroached in, but it hasn't eliminated more than 10% of that arable land. What we have to fight to do every day is to keep that land from being turned into an endless succession of Mililani Maukas. And the key way to do that, is to make people realize that when the ag land is gone, the tourism is gone. So.
Okay, right, which is kind of the connection we made in the studio. But let's back up a little bit.
Right.
Where do popsicles fit in there? I'm interested of, when your brother called you and he said he wanted to do this popsicle thing, was it already this idea of, we're going to use, it's going to be 100% local?
Yeah, he was keying off of his experience with his kids and being exposed to the Eat Local Challenge, and 6 years ago was really the beginning of the Ulupono Initiative, and they're gathering steam. And I've loved to sit on panels with them where it makes me feel less like a firebrand, because here these guys are in khakis and Ren's Aloha shirts.
And they're talking about the same thing.
Doing the thing that's always confused me. Oh, we're a semi-profit nonprofit. How can you be half a nonprofit and half a not? Anyway.
Ambiguities.
Yes, it's ambiguities. But they're talking about we have to go from 15% self-sufficiency to 30% self-sufficiency by 2030. And they're the squares who work for the bank. And it allows me to say that, if even these relatively conservative voices in our community are saying this, I think that's way too slow. I think we need to be at 50% by 2030. I think that their goals are not ambitious enough. But at least, people like us can sit on panels with them and know that they're the ones backed by the banks and that we might actually get something done.
Yeah.
And I like to say also, always like to say that I'm not some drum circle hippie smelling of patchouli. I'm not saying that we should drive Monsanto.
Not true.
I'm not looking to drive Dole or Monsanto or Matson off the island.
Yeah.
Those are important power players. They need to be legislated and regulated. They need to be told that their share of the profits will be the same, that they will make money off of growing food for people who live here.
And not seed corn.
And not poisonous seed corn for export to feedlot cattle on the mainland. That's one of the most ghastly ideas in the world, is to use a tiny bit of arable land in the middle of an ocean to grow experimental seed corn that goes to feed the worst kind of cattle production on the planet.
All right. So just to back it up, just a little bit there. You gave us a lot of material. You've only got 45 minutes.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Let's give Josh a break for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about you, honey.
Maybe you could kind of bring us back to the where do popsicles fit into this? You know.
Oh, I was working up to that. I was really working up.
You just settle down for a minute. Well,
I mean, as far as how our product reflects the ideas that Josh is talking about, I mean, we source everything that we use in our popsicles, with the exception of maybe a handful of ingredients here from the islands: the sugar, the dairy, all of the fruit, obviously, because duh. And we're crafting them by hand in small batches, cutting it all. I mean, and working directly with farmers, working directly with seasonality, and it's a taste of Hawaii, and it's both something that you can spread, market to tourists to be like, this is what Hawaii tastes like, and also
taste of the place.
For families who live here to be like, this is a treat you can give your kids. It's lower on the totem pole as far as sugars and fats and everything, and it's healthier, and it's also from here, made here.
And in terms of even educating tourists of, like, you know, this is a little bit of Hawaii, I think what I've seen from being your neighbor at the farmer's market is I think there's a lot of people that live here that could use that education as well. I think we've lost, I think we can all agree, we've lost touch with the idea of seasonality. And I think that's why folks are still some of the flavors you have. I mean, you're educating people every day. Just, that's what I've really enjoyed about it too, is like this little bit of education and awareness of Hawaiian culture in a popsicle.
The thing about the Eat Local Challenge, you tell a local person that they are supposed to eat local, but that means that they can't have rice or shoyu. The conversation is over before it even started, right?
Is amazing.
The popsicle was a way to put a happy face on the sharp point of the spear, to get people to eat something that was local, that they were familiar with, that made them happy, that felt indulgent, and yet was still all natural. You know, the 21st century young mom that wants to indulge their kids but has become educated about nutrition. And especially in local culture, you know, so much of what you gave the kids was cracked seed and junk food and, you know, rice candy and Spam and Manapua and all the stuff that I grew up in this culture absolutely loving myself, that, you know, over time people began to conceive of as not healthy for their kids. And that's so we're both trying to celebrate the locavore thing and the cultural tradition of Hawaiian regional cuisine. It's super important to me. That's why we have a butter mochi popsicle and a guava chiffon popsicle, and we do an almond float for Chinese New Year, and we do pickled green mango, pineapple Li Hing, cracked seed lemon peel. These are flavors of my childhood that I really wanted to celebrate. But like a key example is the Li Hing powder, right? We knew we needed to have Li Hing flavors. We looked at every Li Hing powder on the market, and they all had aspartame and artificial red in them. And so we knew we had to blend our own. So we went out and blended the only all-natural Li Hing powder on the market. So
I'm curious of what other products like that where you saw that there wasn't either a local source already or like a healthy or favorable.
The
How many of those things?
Motto was, you know, if it's not local, it's organic, and if it's not organic, it's local.
Okay.
But we really also wanted, you know, we wanted to focus on having as many flavors that were 100% local as possible.
So how many flavors is that?
Oh, well, you know, we've done over 100 flavors to date. We have a core of 14 supermarket flavors, and of those, you know, there are components in the Li Hing that aren't local. You can't get around that, but at least it's all natural and organic. And the rice flour in the butter mochi, there's no rice, like I just said. So that's another. And then one of our most popular too is the ume Thai basil. It's a real, you know, local Japanese niche favorite. And the ume, of course, is organic from 100-year-old trees, hand-picked from Hokkaido. You know, we get the best kind of ume you could get, but it's not, you know, there is no local ume either. So there's those key examples, but I'd say 11 of the 14 are 100% local.
Awesome, cool. I want to get, we're going to take a quick break, and then
Okay.
I want to kind of get a little more in depth of what the relationship is between your producers and your distributors, and how that has kind of influenced some of the flavors and kind of the whole business element. So we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Aloha, this is Liliko'i Cheescake, president of the Grassroots Institute, and I want to thank you for watching Think Tech Hawaii. We are delighted to be partners with Think Tech because it gives us the opportunity to bring to you a show every week on Monday at 2:00 p.m. called Ehana Kako. Ehana Kako means let's work together, because we believe that Hawaii will be a better place when everybody works together. And in what way? Well, at the Grassroots Institute, we research 3 basic areas, and we invite guests to come on board from across the country, the state, and the nation to talk about a better economy, a better government, a better society. Now, aren't those things we all want? Indeed. If you'd like to have the latest research in terms of public policy, as well as ways in which we can build a better government, economy, and society, then tune in every Monday on Think Tech Hawaii at 2:00 p.m. for our fascinating guests on Ehana Kako. Let's work together. I'm Liliko'i Cheescake with the Grassroots Institute, and I'll see you then. Aloha.
Aloha and welcome back to Hawaii Farmer Series. I'm your co-host, Justine Espiritu. Matthew Johnson has abandoned me for the week. If you'd like to fill in for him, please tweet us your questions and comments at ThinkTechHigh. Today we have OnoPops. We have Joshua Lanthier-Welch and Katherine Breedlove of OnoPops. So thanks again for joining us.
Our pleasure.
Don't be sarcastic.
No, no, you mistake
So
it.
just to kind of
Genuine enthusiasm for sarcasm.
just to kind of recap, it's amazing. You know, all these kind of ideals and concepts that you're kind of talking about is all kind of captured in this product you guys have of these popsicles. And so we were kind of talking about the variety of flavors and all the different pieces you guys incorporate. So I want to hear you talk a little more about what is that relationship you have with the farmers. I mean, just how many farmers are we talking about, on what islands, how does their supply and the seasonality affect who you're working with? I feel like there's been a couple of examples maybe of even maybe a farmer reached out to you just saying, I have a lot of this, or they're kind of struggling with finding a market, and you guys have kind of created a market for them by just using it. Maybe I made that up.
No. That has happened, but it hasn't happened as often as we would like, and we, yeah, we support over 30 small farms and dairies, many of them directly. Some of our key partners, Naked Cow Dairy and Waianae, Hawaiian Crown Pineapple and Chocolate Company in Kunia and on the Hamakua Coast. They have property both on Oahu and on the Big Island. The Adaptations, which is a consortium and brokerage out of Kamawela on the Big Island, is a huge partner for us. They're really wonderful. They do a great service to restaurants and small producers all over the state. Kula Berry Farm, of course, Chauncey there has been wonderful. Rincon Berry Farm. Strawberries has been one of the...
It's been a heartbreak.
Yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit, Kat?
Well, back in the summertime when we had all those tropical storms, they just got flooded out, and I haven't gotten strawberries from them since July, which is
How many strawberry farms are there?
Just the
just
two.
the two.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's small production places like up Palolo Valley, like somebody might be growing. It has to be grown at elevation because it has to get a combination of
Frost.
cool and
Yeah.
Josh knows better than I do, but it's crazy though that this long of a period, and like back in October, I texted Chauncey and I'm like, any idea when they'll be coming back? And he says, how about the end of January? And it's like, in October, like,
Yeah,
oh
if you
my
make
God.
popsicles and you can't have strawberry popsicles,
Yeah,
you're crying.
Oh, the little kids.
crying all
You're
day.
crying.
Little kids coming to the market like, I want a red one, but I only want a red one. And it's like, oh, well, honey, how about try this vanilla?
Kid, most fruits are orange, kid. That's the first thing you say. God has an inordinate love of orange fruit.
There is
and you
so
should
much
too.
education that goes on at
Yeah.
the OnoPop booth.
But yeah, and then that's put our back against the wall, and Liliko'i and strawberry are key things that are not extensively farmed. And in our initial thinking about having a business that supported local agriculture, the idea was that hopefully by our success, we would be working as drivers, driving people towards producing these goods because we were creating a wider market for them.
Yeah.
But that, it hasn't really been the case.
And how were you trying to frame that? How were you going to reach farm just by reaching out to farmers, be like, hey, try this product because I'm going to guarantee this is how much I need?
Yeah, these are the volumes and this is the economic upside. And
So how many times did you try that before you're like, oh, I guess this isn't going to
well,
work like that?
we've only really been trying it for the last 2 years, especially around the topic of Liliko'i. But the resistance to commercial Liliko'i farming is pretty great because it's a relatively unreliable crop. And there isn't a central large commercial market for it or a central facility for processing it. In Brazil, they have a Liliko'i industry where they generate 55-gallon drums. And, even Hawaiian Sun, we've talked to them, they say that's one of their highest line items for inputs, for ingredients, for their delicious sugar-rich drinks. That a 55-gallon drum of Liliko'i is not cheap. It's the most expensive thing they buy. And you'd think they'd have a vested interest in not shipping it from Brazil and trying to find a way to increase Liliko'i production here. But that hasn't been the mindset of the local food production industry. And that's, what we're here to try to change.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm kind of knowing CTAR, that just brings to mind what they try to do. They're testing the kind of crops of what's good for the soils here and the different areas. So do those things align? In terms of
they should, yeah. That's
creating
stuff
the
for us to talk after. Yeah, and you talked to great. Like we're in a really wonderful deal with Mac Farms. They're using our all-natural Li Hing on a Mac nut that they're launching next month. And we're going to have our brand on the bag and everything, and we're really excited about that. And the guy, Larry Nixon, that is running Mac Farms right now, and they're the only Mac nut brand that's still 100% Hawaiian. Mauna Loa has gone like 80% Australian. So buy Mac Farms. And he, he's like the kind of guy like, who died and made you Robin Hood? His whole point of view in that company is trying to position the families who've been working for that plantation for 3 to 5 generations, Filipino and Portuguese families, hardworking, to get it so that they can own that company. And I mentioned to him that we have such trouble getting strawberries, and he's like, I got 7 acres in Kamuela that's no good for Mac nuts, let's plant strawberries. He's awesome. A solutions, not problems kind of guy.
Yeah.
And it's so great to talk to someone who is a, tough, hard-nosed businessman who is on our side, who is on the side of, sustainable food production and doing the right thing to make, the food marketplace a better place.
On that note, could you kind of talk about some of the folks that distribute your products of partners that,
Foodland, Whole Foods.
They're the major supermarket chains that we do. Whole Foods, of course, has been a partner of ours since very early in the beginning, and they are the ones actually who initially got the ball rolling on producing Li Hing to sell in the market, wholesale and otherwise. And they also encouraged us to start our shave ice line, which is, cool thing about that is that, when you get all the fruit from the farmers, you cut it, and in order to keep it from getting brown or whatever, you throw it in simple syrup. And as it turns out, that syrup, then if you throw a bunch of strawberries in it, turns red and tastes like strawberries.
So it's a sneaky way to get the fruit to pay twice.
And that's what it's all about, finding those places in the cycle to kind of develop another product. And
Well, but the interesting thing, and about Whole Foods encouraging us is that has led to, the Li Hing deal with Mac Farms. It's led to, we're working with a local in Kailua. They serve exclusively our shave ice syrup. And it's just interesting to see how through the 5 years, almost 6 years we've been in business, how all those first initial partnerships grow and they form this really cool little web.
Yeah, definitely, to see how, whatever your original goal is or the idea, and then through these partnerships and different connections of what kind of can keep developing. It's really exciting. That's what I like about, bringing, that idea of like not really understanding the whole food system and everyone kind of involved and, helping create different products to, market different elements of local food here. Other folks, you're not a farmer, but, the idea that you're trying to encourage them of, hey, here, you should grow this product because I can use this.
And we might, I'm not going to rule out vertical integration. I'm not going to rule out getting 5 acres and planting Liliko'i and strawberries. That is something that we need to consider down the road. It is one way that would definitely benefit our company. And, as far as the web of connections, we've had clients come and go. We've had, one of our first clients was Marukai, and that was a terrible fit. They didn't sell well there at all. Their clientele did not understand the message that we were trying to get across. Whole Foods, we can't say enough nice things about. My former life as a personal chef and caterer, if I had to buy my ingredients at Whole Foods, I was cursing the place because it's so expensive, and God damn it, it's cutting into my margin. And I know a lot of people have that feeling about Whole Foods, but once I became one of their vendors, the reason stuff is expensive in Whole Foods is they're trying to keep small guys like me in business. They take such good care of their vendors, and they actually care so much about improving the food distribution system in America that I don't have any more mean things to say about Whole Foods. They've gotten a lot of bad press lately, and I really want to go to bat for how awesome a company they have been for us. So, and supermarkets are tough.
Well, you guys kind of have a niche product. Do you think you're treated maybe differently than, a number of the farmer? Not that I want to say
right.
Talk shit about or crap.
No, everybody's experience is different. We are talking the talk and walking the walk of exactly the kind of stuff that they want to promote. And, some people would call us an expensive product. They're $3.50 for a single unit and $11 for a box of 4. And the next box of organic popsicles back is $7.50. So it does look expensive on the shelf. But what I always tell my employees and people is that we do not have a price point problem. We have a messaging problem. If people knew what they were and what went into them, you would think they were cheap. And, like yesterday, we came back. Wahoo Fresh, your wonderful co-host who's in absentia, and I had a Lexan with 3.5 gallons of freshly squeezed Kona orange juice in it that had just been squeezed, and someone standing there at the warehouse said, "Hey man, give me a glass of that." And I had to look at him and go,
"No way."
3.5 gallons was generated from 100 pounds of organic Kona orange juice at $1.20 a pound. 100 pounds of oranges generated 3.5 gallons of orange juice. It's $37 a gallon. So I'm not gonna. You can have a sip, but you're not getting no glass of orange juice. You're not getting a glass of this. And then you realize that's the actual. When you start with fruit that you cut by hand, nobody in America makes ice cream that way. Every strawberry ice cream you ate started with a bucket of frozen strawberries that was produced in a strawberry processing facility. No ice cream company in America cuts strawberries but us.
Wow. Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, it really is. It's not how commercial food products are made. We're doing something that is actually a labor of love and a commitment to the idea of process. So.
Yeah. So okay, when you talk about you don't have you have a messaging issue. In terms of then your future vision for OnoPops, is that an easy thing that you guys are constantly working on, or is it something that then you're always on the brink of maybe you can't do this?
It's been largely a break-even proposition until last year, and the growth in fiscal viability was largely because of ancillary products. The popsicles, the margins are 15 cents each. The syrups and the Li Hing has much better margins. And as the syrups and Li Hing took off, the company became much more profitable.
So kind of diversifying then.
Yeah, diversifying was really one of the things. And realizing how to get the fruit to pay twice in that sense. And we're hopefully scaling up to do a bottling and pasteurization operation separate from our primary kitchen to really focus on taking our shave ice business wide. Because this thing, we want to put the Hawaiian back in Hawaiian shave ice. Mm-hmm. You have this dessert treat that's known the world over that everybody loves, that is quintessentially Hawaiian.
And it's full of garbage stuff you get. If you go, it's like artificial this, it's like...
Artificially flavored syrups made in the Philippines. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Manolo, and there's the Hawaiian Sun brand is made here, but it's made out of the same, cocktail of chemicals that it's always been made out of. And there, we know we're not the only ones. Uncle Clay and a few other people around town have made some all-natural syrups, and more power to them. But we would like to position ourselves as the all-local brand of shave ice syrup for the entire state and for beyond. Because, Hawaiian regional cuisine is blowing up. There's fancy restaurants, the Liho Yacht Club in San Francisco and Fortuna in New York, places that are trying to pimp the house that Alan Wong and Roy Yamaguchi built out to the rest of the wider culinary audience. And those places should have syrup on their bar that came from Hawaiian soil. That's, if you want the taste of the place and you want to export the idea of Hawaiian regional cuisine, those syrups should definitely go with that concept.
Cool, awesome. I want to we're going to take a quick break, and I want to talk a little bit about, what's your capacity to grow, and, if you want to export and how large you can get with still keeping your core
Ethics.
values. Yeah, and then we can go back into kind of the future of what we see here in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So one more quick break, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Kaui Lucas. I am the host of Hawaii is My Mainland, here every Friday on Think Tech Hawaii at 3 p.m. I invite people who are doing interesting and inspiring things in our community to help us keep it local and keep it real. Tune in any Friday, 3 p.m. and also available on our YouTube channel and my blog, kauilucas.com. Hawaii is my mainland. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Reg Baker, and I'm the host of Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. Business in Hawaii is a program that is positive stories about business in Hawaii. We're tired of hearing the negativity and why it's the wrong place to have a business. We talk about the positive reasons for having a business in Hawaii and how to be successful. We broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Aloha, and welcome to our final segment of the Hawaii Farmer Series for today. I'm your singular, solo, lonely host, Justine Spiritu. I miss you, Matthew Johnson, never leave again. Today's guest,
though. It's the title of your novel, right? I miss you, Matthew Johnson.
Never leave again. Luckily, I have my good friends Joshua Lanthier-Welch and Katherine Breedlove joining me to talk about OnoPops and kind of the role that you have taken in local food here and your wealth of knowledge on the topic. So kind of bringing back, what is the potential and kind of the vision for OnoPops? Is this something you do? You want to export your syrups and your popsicles as, an item that we can promote in other places, so kind of an awesome representation of Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian food, and something that's natural and delicious. And what's your capacity to do that?
If you look at the example of something like Sun Noodle, very popular noodle company in Hawaii. When they went national, they had to build a plant in New York and then later build another plant build a plant in LA and then later another one in New York. In 2014, OnoPops sent $12,000 worth of product as a test case to 44 Whole Foods in Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada. On that product, we received back $7,500 and we had to eat the shipping on top of it. So lost close to $5,000 on the deal in product. That's not sustainable. And making popsicles, shipping, water weight, and fruit, that's
bad combination.
It's what we're fundamentally against as locavores, So if we were to go national, and the long range vision for that would be we would need to find a co-producer, a third-party production deal in Cali, and use all organic dairy, all organic sugar from C&H, all organic fruit, but that each flavor would retain one key Hawaiian ingredient. So the Liliko'i 50/50 would have the Hawaiian vanilla. The cacao nib crunch would be 100% Hawaiian cacao. I pay Metagold $6.75 for a gallon of grass-fed Big Island milk. Organic milk wholesales in Los Angeles for $2.95. The capacity to make a popsicle that you could make a profit on and sell at a lower price that's sustainable at the supermarket is much greater if we go with a mainland third-party production deal. But the OnoPops in Hawaii will always be made in Hawaii. And we learned early on that you can't pay young brothers enough to care. That the first thing they do, you pay them $200 to keep something frozen, and the first thing they do is turn off the freezer and throw everything in the sun. We lost a lot of product that way. So we've pulled back from shipping to the outer islands, but we want licensed partners on each island making them and selling them there themselves.
Oh, okay.
Based on my
Cool.
recipes and in my brand.
That's awesome. I haven't heard
That's
of that.
already up and running. We're 2 years into that on Kauai.
Kauai.
So
So
we're
there's
still,
like OnoPops Kauai right now?
yeah.
You can
yeah.
get them, and they're very
And-
good at you can get them all over the island. I mean, it's a small island, but they've got like almost more wholesale clients than we do.
Yeah,
It's
they're really,
embarrassing.
our joke is they're a lot better at making them than they are at selling them.
No, so,
No, reverse that,
reverse
right, yeah. They're a lot better at selling them than they are at making. For a while, we were sending them product to support them, but they've kind of gotten on their feet.
Well, they
But
got
they're a great test case, proof of concept, it works. You know, if you're watching this on Big
Kauai.
Island or Maui, well, if you're watching it on Kauai, go out and get an OnoPop at Foodland or Safeway. But if you're watching it on Maui or the Big Island and you'd like to license OnoPops as a small business idea, we'd love to have you.
Awesome.
So those are all various avenues for growth and how we see it growing.
Okay, so let's kind of circle back. You have a lot of ideas of what kind of we need to do to kind of increase our capacity for self-sufficiency, and you can only do so much as, you know, that through the avenue or the vehicle of these popsicles. So what do you want to see the rest of us doing, or what can support that, or
Well, it
what
brings
are
us
all
to the elephant of the room, what happened a week ago, which was Alexander and Baldwin announcing that they're pulling the plug on Hawaii cane and sugar on Maui. And this has just been a source of heartbreak for us. You know, it's such a part of my core shtick to say every drop of dairy is Big Island, every grain of sugar is raw cane from Maui brand. In a year's time, it looks like we won't be able to say that. And there's options, you know, Koloa rum is talked about, possibly. They've been preparing for this for a long time. They've been planting acreage and acreage and acreage of sugar. They might sell to the public. I was just talking to Craig Bowden at Hawaiian Crown this morning, and he said, hey, man, I can plant cane for you, and you can just do it in a juicer. And you remember Sammy and Sharon from the old days, you know. There is the concept that we could find some sort of guerrilla cane to keep it going, and also to do a 100% honey line too. You know, a 5-gallon bucket of Manoa honey cost me $300. So it's not a great way to make popsicles, but it's twice as sweet as sugar by volume. And you know, if we had a $5 a pop line that was keeping it 100 with honey keeps it 100. You know, that's a great slogan and that's, you know, one way to keep the authenticity and the commitment to ethics in the brand. But on the other hand, you know, if we have to go back to the underlying concept of if it's not local, it's organic. When it's not organic, it's local. If we need to get organic strawberries and organic Liliko'i from the mainland, you know, we started as an activist brand to try to grow Hawaiian agriculture. And our options are stick to those ethics and become a casualty of them and not be able to have any effect at all, or survive, stay in business, be successful, and be able to continue that activism in the face of what looks like a dire situation. You know, it's not just the death of Maui cane, it's also the closing of Hamakua Springs on the Big Island, and Robert Hess pulling out of the apple banana market on the Hamakua coast, and you know, the number of people throwing in the towel on Hawaiian agriculture in the last 6 months has been really chilling. You know, like I said, we started this 5 years ago to try to make it better, and to see it getting worse in front of our eyes has been.
And it's also to take a tangent from that, like the amount of people that go to the farmers market. KCC used to be a zoo all the time, like totally packed, couldn't find a parking spot. And now you've seen the numbers of people
40% off.
Like really going down. And some of that has to do with the Japanese tourists and the yen and whatnot, you know, I mean, but a lot of it is the local people like, oh no, I can't be bothered to go, it's too busy. And it's like, well, it's not too busy because you're not going, you know?
Right.
And
also, you have to give some credit to the supermarket too, that they've given the consumer more options for local at the supermarket. So people
Okay,
say,
so maybe that absence from
right,
the farmers market.
is, yeah, oh, I get it. I get that at Foodland. Yeah, I no need go. And
So
that's
okay.
fine. If they really are buying local at Foodland, then that's fine. They're still supporting it. But yeah, the surge in consciousness that I felt like I was coming back to in 2009
has kind of dwindled now.
has not entirely, but has lost some of its steam and passion. And the pressure to develop that land is never going to go away. You know, unless people vote at the ballot box and with their pocketbooks every day to support Hawaiian agriculture, the developers will win. I mean, it is a daily struggle. It is a war. and we all need to fight it together. We need to raise consciousness about it. We need to encourage people to eat local. And you know, like I said about rice and soy, someone needs to plant dryland rice. The first person who manages to get acreage of rice grown in Hawaii, even if it costs out at 3 times what a bag of hinode costs, that person will make money. They will be able, if you could have a plate lunch that was 100% local, that every piece of pig, every piece of beef, every grain of rice, every slice of cabbage in the kimchi grew here, that would be, you know, and oh yeah, you got to figure out how to make mac salad out of kiave pod flour. I'm working on that one in the lab.
Well, so okay, then also, okay, so there's these kind of specific products that you see, you know, if we get the acreage for it and have someone commit to, okay, that'll be me, I'll step up and be the farmer for that. And that's in tandem with, we still need to do more education and awareness for
And
consumers.
more legislation. And like I said, we need, you know, the Doles and Monsantos and Matsons. We're not trying to drive them off the island. We want to let them know they can participate in the profit of this endeavor, but you need to put a ring in that bull's nose and drag them to the table and say, by the letter of the law of this state, you stop growing toxic GMO seed corn tomorrow, and X percentage of your acreage must be planted with food that is destined entirely for sale in the Hawaiian marketplace. And that's the best recipe for success I can think of. The big players need to be put in a corner by legislation.
And so where does that
Phone
movement
your
start
congressman.
from then? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, in all of your free time, you can just go down to
Right.
yeah, that's your job, right? Well, that's great. I mean, so we only have 2 minutes left now, a minute and a half. But I mean, I'm very interested. I think because traditionally and notoriously, farmers haven't been involved in this. I mean,
they're
they're obviously,
apolitical.
or they're just
Almost
so
by
busy.
disposition.
Yeah, and I'm interested if you know who is it that needs to kind of step up and one to figure out what these policies are that either we need to put out there or that exists that we can support. You know?
Right. And yeah, raising the consciousness. And you know, the scariest thing, I saw in Hawaiian Business Magazine last month that the mean or median age of the average
Farmer.
owner of a principal owner operator of the farm is over 60 years old.
And that's,
If you do not get the millennials interested in farming, we are well and truly screwed. One of the most important things is to raise consciousness among young people that farming is, you know, I was talking to someone who was just living in New Zealand. You know, farmers are some of the richest people in the entire country of New Zealand. So
Yeah.
they're doing something right
Yeah,
that we
it's-
need to learn from.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too of seeing how it's happening in other places and,
Yeah.
and kind of looking beyond that. Well, so we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was
For
fun.
Thank you.
an awesome episode. Thank you for making your way over.
Maddie really missed out, huh?
Yeah,
Really.
didn't even tweet it.
Maddie
Thanks
didn't
for
get the
not-
love. Yeah.
So join us back here next Thursday and every Thursday. Thank you, Think Tech, for giving us this time and space. Thank you.
Aloha.